FxPro, 4 regulators, score of 8.5. But which entity actually holds your money? Let's break it down. FxPro, London founded in 2006. 4 regulators, 3 platform families. Overall score lands at 8.5 out of 10. If you're shopping CFD brokers and FxPro is on your shortlist, the question isn't whether they're legit. They are. The question is which legal entity you'll actually open your account with, because that one detail decides what happens to your money if something goes wrong. Most reviews gloss it. We're starting there. FxPro is licensed in 4 jurisdictions: the FCA in the UK, SEC in Cyprus, the FSCA in South Africa, and the SCB in the Bahamas. On paper, that's a fortress. In practice, only one of those matters, the one your account actually sits under. Here's the mechanism. When you sign up, the broker routes you to a specific entity based on your residency. UK residents land at FxPro UK Limited, FCA regulated FRN 509956, FSCS protection up to £85,000, negative balance protection included. EU clients go to the SEC entity in Cyprus, ICF compensation up to €20,000, also with negative balance protection. So far, so good. But if you're outside those zones, and most international traders are, you get routed to FxPro Global Markets in the Bahamas, regulated by the SCB. Same brand, same login, same trading interface, materially weaker compensation framework. That's the trap most people walk straight into. They see FCA regulated on the homepage and assume FCA level protection applies to them. It doesn't. The protection applies to the legal entity holding your money, not the logo at the top of the page, and the difference is real. FSCS pays up to £85,000 if the broker fails. ICF pays up to €20,000. SCB pays out, well, that's the question, and it's not a number you want to find out the hard way. So before you fund anything, check the onboarding entity carefully. If you qualify for FCA UK or SEC Cyprus, take it. The protection upgrade is the single most valuable thing about choosing this broker. Okay, regulation. Bomb-proof on the right entity, weak on the wrong one. But solid regulation doesn't tell you what trading there actually feels like. That comes down to execution. FxPro runs an NDD model, no dealing desk. Translation, when you click buy, your order doesn't get sat on by an internal dealer deciding whether to fill you, shade you, or send the price back wider. It goes straight to the liquidity pool. And critically, there are no requotes on market orders. If you've traded with a B-book broker before, you've seen requotes. That pop-up that says, price has changed, accept new price, that's the dealing desk asking permission to widen the spread on you mid-trade. FxPro doesn't do that. You get filled at the available price. Full stop. For scalpers and news traders, that's not a nice to have, it's structural. Requotes during a non-farm payroll release or a central bank announcement can eat the entire intended move. Eliminating them isn't a marketing line, it's the difference between an executable strategy and one that quietly dies whenever volatility shows up. Combine that with nearly 20 years of operating history and you've got an execution stack that does what it says on the tin. That's execution. Now platforms, and this is where FxPro genuinely stands out. Most brokers force you onto one platform. MT4 if they're old school, cTrader if they're chasing the algo crowd, a proprietary web app if they want to lock you in. FxPro hands you all 4. MT4, MT5, cTrader, plus their own web platform called FxPro Edge, all under one account structure. Why does that actually matter? Because the platform you start on is rarely the platform you finish on. Beginners gravitate to MT4. Millions of tutorials, 10,000 indicators, every expert advisor on the internet ready to plug in. 2 years in, you start wanting proper depth of market and level 2 data. That's cTrader's home turf, and its cBot algo framework is a real step up if you're coding strategies. Want a clean browser tab to chart check on a work computer without installing anything? FxPro Edge handles that. Multi-asset CFD chart and order entry in a tab. Switching brokers every time your skill level changes is friction. Lost trade history, re-verification, new funding flows. FxPro removes that friction by stacking the platform options inside one onboarding. Quick word on what you can actually trade. CFDs across forex, majors, minors, exotics, indices and commodities, stock CFDs, futures CFDs, crypto CFDs if you're on an entity that allows them. That one's jurisdiction dependent. It's a broad multi-asset menu, which is what you'd expect from a 20-year-old multi-regulated brand. brand. Not the deepest single stock CFD list out there, that's IG's territory, but broad enough that for retail CFD purposes, you're unlikely to find an asset class missing. And here's the nuance. The instrument list you actually get depends on which entity onboarded you. UK and EU entities sit under tighter leverage caps. The Bahamas entity gives you more rope and weaker protection. Same broker, same brand, different rulebook. Now the bit that actually decides whether trading there is profitable. Fees. FxPro gives you two cost structures, and they're absolutely not equivalent. The standard account spreads from around 1.4 pips on euro dollars, no per lot commission. The raw accounts, MT4 raw, MT5 raw, or cTrader, start at 0.0 pips, but you pay a per lot commission every time you open and close a trade. Most reviews stop at standard is more expensive. That's lazy. Here's the actual mechanism. On standard, your total cost per trade is baked into the spread. What you see is what you pay. On raw, your cost is spread plus commission, and that only beats standard once you're trading enough volume that the tighter spread outweighs the per lot fee. If you're scalping small moves or pushing real size, raw wins. If you're trading once a week in position style swings, standard is genuinely cheaper once you net out the commission drag. Pick the account based on how you actually trade, not on which spread number looks smaller on the homepage. And then there's swap. Overnight holding charges apply on both account types, and that's the hidden cost most retail traders forget to model. Hold across the New York close, you're paying it every single night. One honest caveat, neither FxPro account is the tightest in the industry. If raw ECN spreads are your single priority, Pepperstone and IC Markets lead that race. So who is FxPro actually for? Nearly 20 years of operating history, 4 regulators, ndd-execution with no requotes, MT4, MT5, cTrader, and Edge under one account. This is a competent, long-established CFD broker. Not the absolute top tier. IG, CMC, and Saxo still sit above it on depth and product breadth, but a credible European default if you want platform optionality and you don't need the tightest spread on the planet. Open it if you can sit on the FCA UK entity or the SEC Cyprus entity. That's where the £85,000 FSCS cover or 20,000 euros ICF cover plus negative balance protection actually applies. And remember what I said up top, that's the single most valuable thing you get from picking this broker. Open it if you want MT4, MT5, and cTrader without juggling 3 different brokers. Walk away if the onboarding flow is routing you to the SCB Bahamas entity and you were expecting FCA level protection. The protection follows the entity, not the brand. Walk away if you need rock bottom raw ECN spreads. Walk away if you need a publicly listed parent for audited financial transparency. Final verdict, 8.5 out of 10. A solid, multi-regulated European default, just outside the very top tier. FxPro earns the score on the FCA or SciSec entity. Full review linked in the description.